It is Tuesday, and this means it's Pop-Off Politics with Mario Diaz. Mario Diaz, my goodness, I can't speak today. Mario, welcome back. This is really an awesome opportunity for us to see how the nation's fourth largest city spends its tax dollars.
And as you know, it is a lot of money. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you, this week's agenda is 318 pages. Ooh. And let me tell you how many agenda items there are. There's a ton, like literally a lot this week once again. And it just goes to show you how much work is going to be done every single week.
A lot of work to be done. What's on deck?
It's interesting. There is an update to the fight between City Hall and the Houston Firefighters Union. You remember last week, the city tagged the ordinance that would give Denton, Navarro, Rusha Bernal, and Zek, that's the big law firm. Okay, these are the lawyers representing the city against the Houston Professional Firefighters Association. It's a max contract here, okay? And it's just a little bit less than $1 million.
And, you know, let's remind our viewers what the term tagged means.
Right. Okay, so we highlighted this agenda item last week. They tagged it, which essentially means that the city council goes and they kick the can right down the road, okay? So any member of the city council can do it. You can do it once, but let's say you tagged it and I was out last week. Well, guess what? I can tag it this week and keep it going.
So it can keep...
It can, but you had to be out. That usually doesn't happen. Usually goes about 2 weeks tops. And what they do is it allows for city council members who have questions on this to do a little bit more investigating as to say, what is this truly about? Yeah. So we're going to jump into this right now with agenda item number 53. Here it is. Let's take a look at it once again and what it really means overall. Again, this is an ordinance to increase the maximum amount of contract for an agreement for legal service between the city of Houston and Denton, Navarro, Rocha Bernal, and Zek. And that's about for $468,500. And again, this is bringing the amount to nearly $1 million.
Okay. So what is new this week, sir?
All right, what we do have new this week is that City Hall and the Firefighters Union has been deadlocked in negotiations. It's been going on for quite some time. We all know this, right? However, on Monday, yesterday, okay, there was a hearing that we had here between city officials saying that the heart of the battle is the constitutionality of an arbitration law. If you remember, State Senator John Whitmire, the last legislative session, got through a law that aimed to get a quicker resolution on an impasse in these kind of situations. And that would allow both sides to get an arbitrator and agree on a third who is supposed to remain neutral in this situation.
What is the city saying about it?
So we did reach out to the city about it. We haven't heard back from them yet, okay? And we reached out to the union as well. But you have to remember something about this. I'm going to hold it right here for a moment. Is that in the past, both sides have said, we have both got this right.
Right.
Mayor Turner has been a staunch proponent to say, my position is clear here. I am correct. The firefighters have said another. This has been going back and forth. You've been seeing wins and losses. So it's intriguing to see this. The question is, will this ever get resolved? Someone expects it. Obviously, they all do. But will it happen before the mayor leaves office? That's the other question.
That is a good question. Yeah. How will this impact the vote?
Okay, so how is this going to impact the vote for the council members? And this is a very good question, okay? So our sources say that city council members, okay, keep in mind that the union has been very supportive of candidates who support them in the past. This is an election year.
Right.
So it's going to be intriguing to see how the vote comes down. Because if you have voted in the past against anything HFD in the union, then they start to say, hey, you're really not someone who we want to see is in the best interest of our city. So it's going to be intriguing. And listen, it's not just them. It happens all the time. It happens all the time in these kind of situations where you see one party have an interest saying, hey, vote with us or else, hey, you're going to be against us. Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
It's fascinating to see this time of year. Okay, so we want to pivot here to another agenda item. This one is health related. We know in recent years,
that's right,
this city, our city, and cities really across the country, they've spent millions of dollars on health issues because of the pandemic, because of COVID.
All right, let me get to it. Okay, this is an ordinance, all right, right here. It's a contract between the city of Houston and Inductive Health Informatics, LLC. 3-year contract totaling $816,000. This would help the Department of Health for the city of Houston identify data from tests and case counts for diseases like COVID. It's viewed as a positive in many ways, specifically because it shows the city is trying to get ahead of a situation before it actually happens. But by all accounts, this looks to, in terms of an agenda item, it looks like a good deal because it's going to make the process of counting cases and the data behind them much smoother. Yeah. Remember what the challenges were at the beginning of COVID. Everybody was caught flat-footed.
Yeah.
Now this is a way in which people can actually get to that data quicker. This firm can get to that data quicker, get those test results, and start to put it all together in a quicker fashion.
What do we know about this firm, this company?
They were founded in 2013.
Okay.
They're out of Atlanta, Georgia. And what they do is their focus, and I'm going to quote them now, is to enable professionals to respond effectively to public health threats and events. And how they do this is with epidemiology. I always have a problem with that one.
Epidemiologist.
Thank you very much. Engineers, public health, and experts. Okay, and
I'm just glad I knew it for you.
Yeah, you know, and you have to keep in mind the
epidemiologists.
Yes, they're investigators for viruses. I can't say that word to save my life.
They're doctors, essentially.
And they're investigators to help track down. Again, this is all to make the process easier.
Okay, so if we go back to the first few months of COVID, you know, for many of us, that was a painful period.
Yes.
We all remember how challenging it was to get accurate reads because the system really wasn't in place at the time. We didn't have anything then.
And this is what they're looking to try to do. They're trying to enhance basically the foundation, bolster that foundation, get in front of it. And they're using this through grant dollars. I need to point this out, okay? And keep in mind, right now, we're starting to see a little bit of a resurgence with COVID.
Yeah, we are.
Kids are back in school.
It's that time of year.
Yeah, vacations. And it's an item that many would have truly questioned in the past, right? Like if this would have been 2018, like what do we need this for? But in 2019, you know, you have people talking about, or 2023, forgive me, you have people talking about it. City Council's talking about it. And what they're doing now is they're approving it through a vote to help get things better off moving forward.
So I know.
Remember what we talked about last week?
Yes.
That's the last item here.
It was. It was a big topic last week. It's really a big topic. When did the bid? When was that? Friday?
Friday. But we talked about this 2 weeks ago. Forgive me,
2 weeks ago.
And we're talking about the action that the City Council took.
Right.
To help create the framework for the agreement between the City of Houston, Houston First, and the Republican National Committee, RNC, to host the 2028 convention here in Houston.
Again, we got that bid Friday.
Yes, we did. And it's very interesting. This was the item that we examined, if you remember, and it was the framework agreement for the 2028 Republican National Convention in Houston, and it involves the key parties, and that bid officially took place on Friday.
What was the big surprise for you after we learned we were getting the convention?
You know, it was very intriguing to actually hear the GOP said, we're Houston, one of the key driving forces behind it. And they mentioned this very quickly at their news conference. The Latino vote.
Right.
The Latino vote. And the fact is, they said there are a number of items that are taking place, key issues along the Texas border, impacting those small primary Latino towns. And they highlighted that. And to me, I thought it was very intriguing because obviously there have been questions in the past about, is the Republican Party doing enough to reach out to Latino voters? And obviously we've seen a little bit of an uptick. In 2016, you saw one in which the Hispanics came out stronger since 2004, since George W. Bush. But this is their approach. That was, to me, the biggest takeaway.
And I know during our conversation a few weeks ago when we were talking about this, we were talking about, you know, what happened, how the RNC picks places. We talked about Jacksonville, we talked about Miami, we talked about Cleveland, we talked about different places. Would you say that this indicates that Texas is no longer necessarily a red state? Is it more purple now?
You know, there's a combination, right? They're going after the Latino vote, but here they are coming into the biggest Democratic city in all of Texas. Houston. We know there's a big, as a colleague of mine likes to say, big blue dot right in Texas. And that's Houston. And they're coming in here because they realize that moving forward, as we're seeing these population shifts come into Texas, and you're getting Democrats and you're getting a lot of Republicans coming in here as well, that this state is going to be a battleground state. And in many people's eyes, it already is. Even though it is going Republican in most of the elections, you're seeing the margins get cut. You're seeing at the end of the day, you're seeing some of these victories come out smaller and smaller. And obviously, one of the key driving forces is that Latino vote, which primarily has gone Democratic in the past. So this is the way of them examining it and saying, hey, do we believe it's a battleground state? I don't think they'd actually say that out loud just yet, but come 2028, it's going to be viewed as one in the eyes of many experts.
Politics aside, let's talk about the economic impact that this will have on the city and really surrounding areas.
Well, you know, cities like Chicago, Philadelphia 2016, Cleveland 2016. You mentioned Jacksonville, but it's hard to really judge the 2020 conventions because of COVID.
Pandemic, yeah.
Right, that's why I'm going back to 16. But they're looking roughly in the neighborhood of about $200 million. They've come in north of 150. But again,
that's for this convention. That was for 2024.
That's what they're looking at, expecting in 2024.
Okay.
Between 150 to 200 million.
Yeah.
But here's what you have to remember. Milwaukee that's what they're expecting. Right. You have to remember is that we're looking 5 years out.
Yeah.
5 years out.
Sure.
So in 2028, you can expect prices to go up a little bit more. Obviously, you can expect more people to come into town. You can have more hotels downtown. There's been talk about building the W, which is on hold. So we're going to see how that goes. But at the end of the day, it's a big win for Houston. And Mayor Turner, to his credit, said loud and clear, this is not about party politics.
Yeah.
Landing a political convention is about the betterment of the city. Mm-hmm. For an entire week, Houston's going to have the global stage. Mm-hmm. And you're going to see the beauty shots of NASA. You're going to see the beauty shots of downtown. You're going to see the beauty shots of the Galleria. You're going to see the surrounding areas. You're going to see plenty of longhorns out in the pasture. And to the entire world, they're going to be looking at this place and going, wow, this looks great. So the biggest winner to me isn't going to be the GOP nominee when the balloons drop. It's going to actually be the city of Houston.
Yeah. All eyes will be on our potholes, right? Let's get those fixed. Okay, his name is Mario Diaz. He needs no introduction or goodbye. We thank you for your time, as always. If you have a tip, if you have a question, if you have a concern, you can reach him at mdiaz@kprc.com.
And if you ever need Zach to pronounce
epidemiologist,
you just ask him.
I knew it. Oh, okay. Well, thank you very much, sir.